What if instead of being Upper Moon 2, Doma were a demon slayer in the Taisho era? Whether he'd be a human or a demon slayer, Doma would retain his personality. He would be apathetic and also quite talkative. Rengoku, on the other hand, would be his rival, considering they have opposite breathing styles and both of them are talkative, though Doma falls into the cocky type of talkative as compared to the wise Hashira. Now, what are some of the major changes that will take place with him not being active as an upper-ranked demon? Starting off, the very first significant change that will surely affect the story will be the undoing of Inosuke's mother. Doma is responsible for her death, but with him as a demon slayer and her still alive, Inosuke won't have to go down the path of becoming a demon slayer, which sadly also means that Inosuke won't be a part of Tanjiro's squad. But surely that can't be the only change, right? Well, you're correct, because another major change involves Shinobu's elder sister Kane still being alive. But that's only the beginning, so be sure to keep watching until the end. Doma's first debut in the story will be with the other Hashiras in the rehabilitation training arc when Tanjiro is presented at the meeting with Ubuyashiki, the head of the Demon Slayer Corps. With his role swap, Doma will be the Ice Hashira, which is just so cool. Taking into account that there hasn't been anyone else using an ice-related breathing style, he will be the first one to introduce it. Initially, Doma will strike others as a cold person, but he will be quite talkative, making remarks on Sanemi getting headbanged by Tanjiro and so on. Eventually, Tanjiro and Zenitsu are going to be sent to the Infinity Train. The events are going to proceed the same way even without the presence of our Beast Boy. Tanjiro will be able to beat Enmu, while Zenitsu, Rengoku, and Nezuko will be safeguarding the passengers. As we all know, Akaza would show up and take on the flame Hashira. Doma would be sent to aid Rengoku in this mission, but is running late since he missed the train. Just as Doma arrives, he sees Akaza punching a hole in Rengoku's chest. Doma lets out a scream and lunges at Akaza. It forces Akaza to jump back and eventually retreat due to the rising sun. Doma holds his closest friend as he breathes his last breath. Although Doma is the type of guy to not show any kind of emotions, losing such a close rival would even tempt someone like him to make a move. This will be the first step towards his character development to finally gain back a hint of his emotions. Doma sheds a tear and vows to avenge his friend's death by defeating Akaza. Another major change would be in the Entertainment District arc, because since Doma was never an Upper Moon, Daki and Gyutaro also won't get a chance to become one either. Because of this, the Entertainment District portion of the story would never have happened. As such, Tengen would still be in perfect shape. During this arc, Tanjiro and Zenitsu would probably take on another mission. Though this mission won't make them grow as much as the battle against the Upper Moons did, they won't be too far behind the strength of their counterparts in the original timeline. Now that Doma is no longer a demon, the one to replace him will be Akaza as the new Upper Moon 2. Since Muzan is missing some firepower, he is forced to turn to the lower moons. However, there will be a possible clash between the Upper Moons where the lower ones would compete greatly just to be in the position. Let's take Enmu's personality as an example. He would literally happily kill to have more of Muzan's blood in favor. Each of them will surely be waiting for a chance to betray the other, just so they can climb up in ranking. The following two arcs, Swordsmith Village and Hashira training arcs, will proceed in the same way without any alteration. The news of Swordsmith Village being attacked would reach Doma's ears late, so he wouldn't be of any help in that arc. They will still be able to take care of Han, Tengu, and Joko while also unlocking the Demon Slayer marks, respectively. In the Hashira training arc, Doma will probably be focused on experimenting on demons he had captured using his ice-breathing style. With the help of Kane and Shinobu, he will be working behind the scenes, developing either a more lethal poison or ways to turn demons back into humans. Without Doma on their side, the only huge hitters from the demon side would be Kokushibo, Akaza, Muzan, Nakame, and Kaigaku. The Demon Slayers will be able to take care of all the other lower moons in no time. Akaza will face Giyu, Tanjiro, and Doma this time around. Now you may be thinking, how does Doma's breathing style work? Well, the ice breathing technique will primarily be derived from the water breathing technique. Considering that he was really skilled at Tessenjutsu as a demon, he will still be able to retain this dual wielding ability as a human. His style will involve him using dual Nichiren swords, which will emit an ice-like mist. He will be slow compared to his demon self, but his strikes will be relatively harder. On top of that, he will have the same great reflexes. When he lands a blow on his opponent, he will be able to freeze them with his sword. He is chill, both literally and figuratively. The battle ultimately commences with all three Demon Slayers lunging at Akaza, striving to land a decisive blow. However, Akaza's incredible reflexes allow him to block every strike and counter with a barrage of punches. Despite inflicting multiple cuts on Akaza's body, their efforts seem futile due to his formidable regeneration abilities. Even with Tanjiro's sun-breathing aiding them, they still lack the strength to deal a fatal blow. The battle persists at the same pace, with Akaza remaining unscathed while the three Demon Slayers grow exhausted, sustaining minor damage. It is at this moment that Tanjiro pushes beyond his limits, unleashing the Demon Slayer mark, followed by Giyu and Doma. Akaza discerns the increased strength and speed of all three Demon Slayers, forcing him to employ his full full strength to counter their attacks. As moments pass, Doma narrowly misses a fatal blow on Akaza. Recognizing their adaptation to his movements, Akaza alters his strategy, singling out Tanjiro as the weakest among them. In a critical moment, Doma intervenes, shielding Tanjiro from Akaza's attack at the cost of sustaining minor damage himself. With their stamina dwindling, the trio devises an all-or-nothing strategy. Charging at Akaza, Giyu and Tanjiro manage to sever both of his arms. Just before his regeneration begins, Doma plunges both of his swords into Akaza's chest and utilizes his ice-breathing technique to freeze him in place, delaying his regeneration. This gives all three Demon Slayers the chance to decapitate Akaza. Unlike in the original story where Akaza was able to continue fighting headless, Doma's ice-breathing prevents this outcome. As Akaza meets his demise, Doma sheds a tear and says a prayer to Rengoku as he has avenged him. Moving on, let's not forget about the lethal poison Kunai and Doma have been working on, though they probably have also developed the anti-Kibutsuji drug. This lethal poison would help them in their fights against the Upper Moons as well. Shinobu may be able to inject Kokushibo with it, which would help them get rid of him in a timely manner. Kokushibo will be facing a lot of Hashiras all by himself, but because he is an army by himself, he'd still be able to inflict some major damage and maybe take down 1 or 2 Hashiras with him again. But he will also fall down much quicker as compared to the original timeline. This means that the only one left will be Muzan. But now that most of the Demon Slayers will have fewer injuries than they were supposed to have, they will be able to hold off against Muzan more easily than the original timeline. We will now have Kane, Doma, Tengen, and Shinobu still alive to face Muzan in the final battle, along with everyone else from the original series. The final battle erupts with everyone unleashing their Demon Slayer marks without delay. However, this is where Muzan also transforms into his ultimate form. The Demon Slayers charge at the Demon King, striving to land fatal blows. Despite their efforts, Muzan employs his whips to fend off most of the Demon Slayers. Additionally, with the anti-Kibutsuji drug weakening Muzan, both sides are on a more equal footing. Even with the additional help from the surviving Demon Slayers, they encounter difficulties. In mere moments, Hashira start falling left and right. First to fall is Tengen, followed by Shinobu. Panic sets in, but everyone knows this is the final battle to end demons forever. More bodies fall, but there's a glimmer of hope as they manage to stall Muzan for a significant period. Everyone, including Muzan, realizes that sunrise is imminent. Muzan swiftly fends off the Demon Slayer's strikes and attempts to flee. Just as he turns his back to run, Doma stabs him in the back. Doma, as with Akaza, employs his ice breathing to momentarily immobilize Muzan. However, Muzan, being much stronger than Akaza, breaks free from Doma's ice breathing. In the next instant, Muzan uses his claws to pierce Doma's chest. Doma coughs up blood, but realizes this is their only hope of winning the fight. Knowing it's over for him, Doma unleashes his final ice breathing form, emitting ice particles from his body, freezing himself and everything nearby. This grants the Demon Slayers just enough time for the sun to rise, causing Muzan to disintegrate into dust. In the end, half of the Demon Slayers have perished, including Doma, but because he stalled Muzan long enough, he is hailed as the hero who led them to victory. Make sure to subscribe and like the video! Check out the videos on the screen for more Demon Slayer content.